I was given this project. There was this problem that we needed to solve. So I kind of went off for a couple of days, and I didn't talk to a lot of people during this. We're working from home, and it's pretty easy to just go without talking to someone. So I go off for a couple of days, and then I come back and I have this solution. Here's my solution. And so me and the COO look at it, and he immediately says, "Well," he's like, "Oh wow." First he was like, "Oh wow, this is a this is kind of a genius solution." And then he goes, "But how is this going to fit in with this?" And immediately I was like, "Oh my god, it doesn't work. It's not going to work." What's up, guys? I'm Cliff. This is Tech Endeavor. And this video is going to be me sharing my thoughts and my experiences from my very first dev job. And to give a little context, I am currently a Lambda School student in their full stack web development program. And I was actually able to get hired about halfway through the program. I actually recorded a video talking about my experiences specifically with Lambda, my thoughts, some pros and cons that I wanted to share. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it here so you can go check that out. That being said, without further ado, let's get into the video. So back in January, I started my very first dev job, but I've noticed so many things about the job that I just did not expect. And there's a few things that did meet my expectations, but by and large, I'd say most of the things were it's not the type of thing that I thought that would. I didn't think these things would happen. I didn't think that I'd be in the position that I am. It's all good, and it's actually I feel like because of the position that I am in, it's made me. It's kind of like forced me to be a better developer, which is really cool. For one, I didn't expect that I'd be working so closely with a content team and with my COO and have to not only have technical considerations, so being able to write code and to work within the code that exists, so it all works together, it all follows our best business practices, our best technical practices, coding best practices, etc. But also I have to consider in my position, and I guess to give a little bit of background, I am the very first front end developer at this company. Okay. Up until now, uh, all of the front end work, they've either had one of their back end developers do it, and that's not their wheelhouse. So they'd use a lot of bootstrap and that kind of thing. And then either that or they would farm it out, outsource it to an independent or a freelance developer. So we have this crazy combination of code that was written by developers that actually no longer work at the company, and they were like front end code that was written by back end developers, and this code that was written by other developers, during outsource when the project or that portion of the project was outsourced. So you have and there's no legitimate like coding standard written for the company, right? And so there's not a lot of best practice documentation written for the company in general. So you have these people that are just kind of doing their own thing, and then in the end, like it just becomes a mess. And so part of what I've been doing is sifting through that mess, determining the things that work, determining the things that don't work, and I'm actually helping to write that documentation, decide our best practices as a company. And remember, this is my first dev job on top of being part of actually writing the code. And I actually started writing production code within the first 3 months, which is insane to me. I thought that what I would be doing, like I'm writing new code, right? I thought that what I would be doing for the first 6 months would be just like taking little tasks, little bugs here and there and fixing those bugs. Really, they had a really big need for a front end developer. And so I was thrown right into the fire, and I think that's honestly made me a much better developer. And you know, the point I was making earlier is, on top of that, I'm also having to make business considerations. So like, how do we develop this not only in a way that works really well for us, but it works really well for our clients? So that was something that I had imagined at a job like this would already be fleshed out, and I would just be kind of given like, okay, here's a ticket. Okay, take this ticket and then just perform this task, build it, you just think about the technical part of it, and we'll kind of handle the rest and you know tell you what you need to do. There's been some of that, yeah, but for the most part, I've been in the conversations, with business, with our internal clients is what we call them. So I'm in with with marketing and sales team, and I'm in with the content team, and I'm in with the COO and also the dev team, and trying to bring all those things together, and being part of that conversation, offering my thoughts and my ideas, and they've really done an awesome job, and it's made me feel really good too, because they've really wanted to know what my not only my opinion was, but my experience. They wanted to know kind of the things that I've learned in school, like how can we apply some of those best practices. So in a lot of ways, I'm writing the book on what it means to be a front end developer at this company, and I'm writing the standards by which we're gonna be that by which we actually do our development on the front end. I never expected any of that. And yeah, it's just put me in a really good position to really grow as a not only a developer but as a person too. This is actually not only my first developer job, but it's also my first office job. So I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot here, and I think a lot of my situation is very specific to my company. It's going to be different really wherever you go and whatever position you're in. It's gonna depend on where you are, obviously, but I think it's good to go into the job with kind of the mindset of, okay, this is kind of what I think will happen, and these are kind of some expectations that I have, but also I understand that it might not be like that at all. And that might be a good thing, and that might not be such a good thing. But either way, just know that some of the things are going to meet your expectations, some of the things are not. And it's really hard to say what it's going to be like because your company is going to be unique. And another thing that I didn't expect was, I would say now I spend about maybe 20% of my time writing code, and the other 80% is in planning meetings and updating Jira tickets, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's having all these meetings. It's talking about our process, defining our process, because we are an agile team, and so we're constantly iterating over like, okay, we did this way this time. Does this still work now? Was this something that we did specifically for that project, or is this something that we can take as a piece of the process and we can carry it forward and it will work, kind of as a universal process? So lots of things to consider all the time. And then, being responsible for my own task at the end of the day. So honestly, it's a lot, and it's a lot. I'm having to look at the whole process. I'm having to look at what's going on from 30,000 feet and from on ground level with a magnifying glass. As a developer, it's really easy for us to really get tunnel vision and really like just hone in on what we're doing, and we try to solve a very specific thing for a very specific problem. And it's easy for us to forget that this thing has to fit into the bigger picture, and that's something I'm constantly being reminded by my COO when in the talks that we have. Without going into too much detail, I had was given this project. There was this problem that we needed to solve. So I kind of went off for a couple of days, and I didn't talk to a lot of people during this. We're working from home, and it's pretty easy to just go without talking to someone. So I go off for a couple of days, and then I come back and I have this solution. Here's my solution. And so me and the COO look at it, and he immediately says, well, he's like, oh wow. First he was like, oh wow, this is a very, very, this is kind of a genius solution. And then he goes, but how is this going to fit in with this? And immediately I was like, Oh my God. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So because I didn't have those conversations from the beginning, those business conversations, I had to go back and refactor what I wrote. So I wasted a lot of time is what it boils down to. And that is my advice in those situations is really try to understand what the problem is and why it needs to be solved and then move into how can you solve it in a way that satisfies all of the needs and the values of all the different sectors of your company or the team that you're working with. You know, a lot of times, like I said, those business considerations, content considerations, those kind of things are already kind of fleshed out for you. But even if they are, you want to make sure that you keep those in your mind as you're developing, as you're creating your solution. And it's gonna, you're gonna avoid a lot of pain and heartache and wasted time if you just do that. So I'll share another story. I was actually given two pretty major projects, basically at the same time, and I was expected to lead those projects, which was pretty crazy. And I had some mixed emotions about that. You know, I felt like really honored that I was entrusted with that at the level that I'm at, but also at the same time, it was very daunting and a little overwhelming. But I ended up going through the projects and completed them, and honestly, like did really well. Like I was very proud of the way that I handled it, and like I just came in and I gave it my all, and they both of those projects turned out really great. It was awesome. What I realized after the fact was, well, come on. What I realized after the fact was that pace that I set, there was no way I was going to be able to sustain that and not burn out. Like that was very quickly apparent to me. If you're a person like me, you're going to want to come in and you're just going to want to crush it. You're going to want to prove that you earn that you deserve to be there. And what might happen is you set that bar too high for yourself in the beginning and you're not able to keep that level throughout your career. So my advice would be to pace yourself. You know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I know you've heard that before, but it really is true. Like, come in, do great work, but set a reasonable pace. Because if you set the expectations too high in the beginning, then your superiors and your colleagues might start expecting you to continue this really unsustainable pace throughout your career at the company. And then when you don't live up to that because you're human and you're going to have lulls, you're going to have times when you have a lot of energy, you're going to have times when you have no energy and everything in between. So those times when you're not able to meet that standard, then people might start to kind of look at you and wonder like, what's going on with this guy? What's wrong with him? You know? So yeah, just pace yourself, set the pace, like don't set the bar too high. You know, as I say, don't peak too early. But all in all, I love my job. It is so cool. It's a small company. There's like 16 people. I say like there are 16 people in the company, and every day we have a Zoom chat at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, and we just kind of just kind of kick it and just talk about what's going on in our lives. And it's interesting because this is not a remote company, but we've all gone completely remote since the pandemic. So we're all kind of adjusting with that, but it's an awesome place to work, and I think it's a really awesome opportunity, especially for my first job. We're actually talking about very soon. We're going to be rewriting our legacy code, and I'm so excited about that. I get to be a part of that. I get to actually offer my insight and my opinions and my observations about how the code is working now, how we're working with it, and how can we rewrite it in a way that's so much better. But anyways, I just wanted to share my experience with my first job, and I hope it kind of helps give you a better understanding of what to expect, what not to expect when you go into your new job. Just know that like your situation is going to be different. Take what I've said with you, but also remember like no two situations are the same. Whatever job you end up working at is going to be it's going to be a unique experience. So, if you made it this far, I'd ask you to please, if you like the video, click the like button, give me a thumbs up and let me know you liked the video. If you didn't, then drop a comment and offer your thoughts. And until next time, I'm Cliff with Tech Endeavor. See ya.